The most confident person in the room is usually the one working the hardest to convince you they are. Real confidence is quiet. It doesn't perform, but fake confidence has a tell. Actually, it has 7, and once you learn to spot them, you will never look at people the same way again, including maybe yourself. We are taught that confidence looks a certain way: loud voice, big handshake, eye contact that doesn't break, walks into a room like they own it. But here's the uncomfortable truth psychologists have been documenting for decades. A lot of what we call confidence is actually a survival strategy. It's a mask built to hide insecurity so well that even the person wearing it forgets it's a mask. Faking confidence isn't lying, exactly. It's armor. And armor, if you know what to look for, always has seams. Today, we're breaking down the 7 psychological signs that someone is performing confidence instead of feeling it. And by the end, you might realize you've been doing 1 or 2 of these yourself. Sign 1. They over-explain their decisions. Genuinely confident people make a choice and move on. They don't need you to understand why, but someone faking it will give you a paragraph when a sentence would do. They'll justify the restaurant they picked, the opinion they shared, the outfit they wore, not because you asked, but because some part of them is still asking themselves if it was the right call. Psychologists call this reassurance seeking. And it's one of the clearest tells that self-doubt is running the show behind a confident script. Sign 2. They can't sit in silence. Watch what happens in a pause. Real security is comfortable with a quiet moment, a beat where nothing needs to be said. But fake confidence treats silence like a threat. It rushes to fill the gap with a joke, a fact, a change of subject, anything to keep the momentum going. That's because silence gives other people room to form their own opinion, and someone performing confidence is terrified of what that unsupervised opinion might be. Sign 3. Their confidence disappears one-on-one. This is a big one, and it's counterintuitive. You'd expect a confident person to be confident everywhere, but faked confidence is often a group performance. It needs an audience to survive. Take that same person into a quiet one-on-one conversation, away from the crowd that reinforces the persona, and you'll often see the whole thing soften. The voice gets smaller. The eye contact gets less certain, because the performance was built for a stage, and there's no stage anymore. Here's where it gets more interesting, though, because signs 4 through 7 aren't about how someone acts around others. They're about how someone treats themselves when they think no one's grading them. And sign 4 might be the most telling one on this entire list. Sign 4. They can dish it out, but can't take it. Someone with real self-assurance can hear a joke at their own expense and actually laugh, because the joke doesn't threaten anything true about how they see themselves. But watch what happens when fake confidence gets even mild pushback or teasing. The smile tightens. The comeback gets sharper than it needs to be. Sometimes it turns into a joke about you. Fast, like a reflex. That's not wit. That's a nervous system protecting a foundation that isn't as solid as the performance suggests. Sign 5. They name-drop their wins without being asked. This one shows up everywhere, from job interviews to first dates to group chats. Genuine achievement doesn't need constant advertising. People who are secure in what they've done can let it come up naturally, or not at all. But faked confidence often can't resist working an accomplishment into a conversation where it doesn't quite fit. The promotion, the degree, the connection they have. It's less about the achievement itself and more about needing you to update your opinion of them in real time, because their opinion of themselves depends on it. Now here's the part most people miss completely, and it's honestly the most human part of this whole topic. Faking confidence isn't usually about ego. Research on self-presentation suggests it's most often about fear. Fear of being seen as less than. Fear of rejection. Fear of not measuring up to some standard nobody ever actually agreed on. Which brings us to the final 2 signs, and they're the ones that reveal what's really going on underneath. Sign 6. Their body language and their words don't match. This is one behavioral researchers have studied closely. The gap between what someone says and what their body does while they say it. Someone might say, "I'm totally fine with this," while their arms cross, their foot bounces, their voice climbs half an octave. Real confidence has alignment. The words and the body are telling the same story. Fake confidence has a script running on top of a nervous system that never got the memo. And that mismatch is almost always visible if you know to look for it. Sign 7. They need the last word. This is the deepest one and maybe the most revealing. Someone secure in themselves can let a disagreement end unresolved. They can hear, "I don't think you're right about that," and simply let it sit. Because their sense of self isn't riding on winning the exchange. But faked confidence experiences an unresolved disagreement as a kind of threat. Like walking away means the insecurity underneath got exposed. So they push, they circle back. They need to be the one who closes the conversation, because as long as they have the last word, the illusion stays intact. And here's the thing that makes this topic so uncomfortable to sit with. Most of us have done at least one of these 7 things this week. Not because we're fake people, but because confidence isn't a personality trait you either have or don't. It's a state that fluctuates, and performing it is often just what we do while we're waiting to actually feel it. The real skill isn't spotting fake confidence in other people. It's noticing when you're doing it yourself and asking what you're actually afraid of underneath the performance. Because the moment you stop needing to convince people you're confident is usually the moment you actually start to become it. If you recognized yourself in even one of these 7 signs, drop the number in the comments. No judgment, we've all been there. And if this kind of psychology actually helps you understand people better, subscribe to Cipher, because we break down exactly how the mind works to protect itself, one video at a time.